Live Network. This is OpenLine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to OpenLine. Good show tonight. We're talking about a bill that has gotten a lot of attention already. Should the Bible become the official state book? Now, this actually passed in the legislature a few years ago, but it was vetoed by then Governor Bill Haslam. He said it trivializes the Bible. We have posted this question on social media and gotten all kinds of responses on both sides. People are very passionate. People say adamantly, no, it should not be the state book. People say adamantly, yes, it should be the state book. We'll talk about and read some of those comments a little bit later. But tonight we have with us both of the sponsors of this bill. The sponsors of the bill that want to make the Bible the state book of Tennessee. We have the Senate sponsor and the House sponsor. Happy to welcome Senator Mark Pody, Republican from Lebanon. Senator Pody, thank you for being here.
It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. And Representative Jerry Sexton, Republican from Granger County. Representative, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
For being here. All right. Why is this, you see it causes all kinds of debate on both sides. Why is this necessary? Why are you pursuing this? And whoever wants to take it.
Sure, and I'm going to tell you. So,
okay.
Representative Sexton actually started this bill a few years ago, and at that point I was not a sponsor of it. I was in the House with him, and after it was vetoed and such, Representative Sexton has been very passionate about making sure that this happens. And when he brought it to me, I could turn around and say, why haven't we done this so many years ago? And it's just to me a simple question of what other book has done more for the history of our state and our nation than the Bible has. And in Tennessee, we are literally called the Bible Belt, and we're the buckle of it right here in Nashville, Tennessee. So being here in Nashville, being who we are, and what this has meant to our state, both economically, both historically, everything, this just fits for who we are in Tennessee.
What about the separation of church and state? And does this open us up for a lawsuit if somebody wanted to do that? And is that going to be an expense that taxpayers will have to carry?
Before I turn this over to Jerry, let me answer. Those 5 words have caused more miscommunication, misunderstanding than almost anything else that I hear of in government. And if you look in the Declaration of Independence and you search separation of church and state, it's not there. If you look in the Bill of Rights, separation of church and state, it's not there. If you look in the Constitution, separation of church and state, it is not there. Nobody can show me in the Constitution where it says separation of church and state. That came from a letter from George Washington and to a church Thomas Jefferson to a church in Danbury. It was a personal letter he was writing to them. And people have taken that and said, well, that must be in the Constitution somewhere. It is not in the Constitution.
But it's something our founders believed. And so are you saying that state-sponsored religion is okay?
No. But John, I'll let you take I know you want to get in on this, but
no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
It is. When you're saying the founders thought of that, the founders tried to build a wall saying this, that government cannot involve itself with religion. But nowhere did it say religion couldn't be involved in the beliefs running in government. It was a one-way wall. That's all it was. So it was not that people of faith could not be using their faith in government. It just doesn't want government to move forward in putting one religion out there and saying everybody has to have this as a religion. And I firmly believe in that. In fact, there's articles within our Constitution saying that we do not want the state to say this is your only religion and you have to have that. We don't want the state saying that this is the main religion or anything about that. And part of the argument is, well, they say, well, the Bible, it represents, religion. And you know what? I know that the Catholics use that Bible. They just add a few of their own books in there. I know if we look at the Jewish faith, they have the whole Old Testament in there. But we're not saying that the Jewish faith is what we're talking about. We know even that if we look at whether somebody's Baptist, whether they're Presbyterian or whatever, they use the Bible. We're not trying to say everybody's got to be a Baptist. And even people from the Muslim faith, they use some of the things that they draw out of the Old Testament for theirs as well. So we're not saying that the Bible is representing one faith. We're saying that this Bible has had more to do with the history of our nation and of this state than any other book in the history of our country.
Okay. All right. So when when someone asks about the separation of church and state, the response is there is no separation of church and state. Is that what you're saying?
What we're saying is that it's not part of the Constitution. It was only the first time that it was ever used, I think, was in 1940. And I forget the Supreme Court justice that used it. But he brought it up, and that's when it really became noticeable. It was just to say that Thomas Jefferson said there is this wall of separation. It was a letter to the Danbury Baptists because they were afraid, as Senator Pody said, that he was going to establish a state church like the Church of England. And they did not want that, and we don't want it today. We don't want a state-sanctioned church.
By making the Bible the state book, does it mean the state is sanctioning Christianity over some other religion, whether it be the Quran and Islam, or does it mean that Tennessee sanctions the Bible and Christianity over other religions?
Well, Rocky Top is one of our state songs, but you don't have to sing it. The Tennessee Waltz is one of our state songs, but you don't have to dance to it. We have state flowers, state fishes. Nothing of this manner causes you to have to go and buy or do anything. So this doesn't cause you to have to do anything. You don't have to read it, you don't have to buy one, you don't have to go to Sunday school, you don't have to have a prayer meeting. All it does is just recognize it for its historical and economic and cultural value here in the state of Tennessee.
You passed this 4 years ago. It was your bill, right? You passed it. Then it was vetoed by the governor. He said it trivializes the Bible, which I believe is a sacred text. If we believe the Bible is the inspired word of God, then we shouldn't be recognizing it only as a book. In other words, he thinks it trivializes the Bible to call it a book. It's a sacred text. Why do this? If you believe it's a sacred text, it almost demeans it to call it a book. What do you think about
That's
that?
a great point. And I've had other of my colleagues say some of the same things. However, I'm going to tell you, because when the book was written, I believe it's the Word of God, and there is nothing that I can do. There's nothing as Mark Pody, as a human being, can do to take anything away from what the Word of God is. So when somebody says that I can do something like that, I don't believe that at all. The only thing I'm trying to do is lift this up and say there's more from a single book here that has changed the direction and formed Tennessee than any other book. In fact, you might say than many of the books combined, because there's more people that buy the Bible, that read the Bible, than any other book that we have in the state of Tennessee. And those people, we're just recognizing what the influence is that this book has had in our state.
And could I just add that Gideon's International, they give away a Bible every minute. Every second. And Senator Pody is a Gideon, but we put those in motel rooms. They have a color for nurses. They have a color for soldiers. They have a color for graduates. They have a color for school children. And so they do Bibles in different ways to represent different events that are going on. When my wife and I got married, we were given a family Bible that you can put your history in. So to say that the Bible would be put in to any certain place would diminish its text or value. Text is there to be read. And so we would hope that if you go to the Blue Book and you find the state book is the Bible there, that it might encourage you to read it. But you don't have to. So to diminish the value of something that we think is beyond our level, I don't know how I could do that, because its words far above me.
So 4 years ago, it was vetoed by Governor Haslam. Have you heard from our current governor, Governor Lee, about his thoughts on this bill?
I have talked to him. We did not get into the conversation because we were at the end of our limit to where I could have his ear. But I did tell him that I was going to run it, and I gave him the history from the last administration. I said, I don't want you to be caught off guard by it, but I did not ask him if he would support it. I probably will, but I'm not really going to let that, either of us will let that stand in our way, but I think he probably would support it, but I can't speak for him, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm. How likely is it that it will pass?
I think it's going to be very likely. And it's running in the House first, and we're already getting co-sponsors in the Senate. We only need to get 17 people to vote for the bill, and it'll pass. I really think that many of my colleagues, as soon as they've seen it drop, they came in and signed down their own without me even having to go work the bill or ask them or even let them know that that's going to be there. It passed before, and it wasn't even close in the Senate. It already passed. Many of the same members are still here, and they're very much for putting this bill forward.
So it goes in the House first,
yes,
and you believe it'll pass there. It passed 4 years ago, or not? What do you think?
Well, we have a lot of new members, but judging by the response that we've got, I think we'll pass it.
Does any other state make the Bible its official book?
Not that I'm aware of.
They haven't.
There is no other state that has done this, but there's no other state that's going to say they're the belt buckle. The Bible belt buckle. There's no other state. We are it. I think that we should be the lead on this. And so many times, we wait and see what somebody else might do, but if this is the right thing to do, we need to be the lead doing it. And that's exactly why we're running this bill right now.
There have been, we're so in the midst of these battles, these cultural battles. And here we throw this in there, and it's yet another thing that just gets everybody all worked up. Why is this so important? Are you concerned for you right now, and are you concerned that it is just another thing that gets everybody all worked up? It's another one of these cultural battles that just divides us. What do you think about that?
And that's a good point. We're not here to actually divide. I think that whatever somebody else's belief is, they're entitled to that. I don't want to do anything that's going to take away what their belief is, what their religion is. I cannot force mine, and nor would I want to. And even my beliefs is I can't do it, because if somebody's going to be a Christian, they have to do it voluntarily on their own, but just between them and God. Nobody can force them to join our religion. So if somebody else has a firm belief in what their religion is, I don't want to stand in their way whatsoever. We do want to say that the Bible has shaped who we are as Tennesseans more than anywhere else. If there's another religion, it doesn't even come close to what this has done for Tennessee. And we're just honoring that.
And so if there's a Muslim out there who says this makes me uncomfortable, the state where I live has now adopted this other sacred text as its official book. What does this say about what this state feels about my religion? What do you say to someone, and I'm picking Muslim, but it could be any other religion that is uncomfortable by this?
So if there's another religion, I'm not trying to say that we want this book to stand up because of the religious belief that I have. I'm not putting out to say that I want this to be this religion, and this is a religion I want Tennessee to recognize as our religion, or put that in the Blue Book or Constitution anywhere. I can't do that. That's wrong for me to try and say that Tennessee is going to recognize that religion. But what I can say is this book, this Bible, has done more to shape our nation with the values in this state and the economic development that it's had in this state, what it means to this state. There's no other book that does it. Now, we pick the state tree, we pick the state fish, we pick the state bird, we pick the state everything. This is the state book, and there's no other book that comes close. This is a head and shoulders far and beyond what anybody else says. So I'm not trying to say we're going to do this on a religious basis. That would be immediately thrown in court and thrown out as unconstitutional. We can't do that.
Has there been any, I mean, you passed it 4 years ago. What about the legal aspect of this? Were you concerned it would be challenged in court? Was there a threat of a court challenge?
There was a lot of talk of whether or not that it would be challenged in court, and it doesn't matter to me. You could be sued for anything. You could be sued for being in another state when you're sitting here tonight. You can be sued for anything. So we can't allow lawsuits or threats of that nature to keep us from doing what we believe that is good and good for our community. Now, Nashville is the #1 religious publishing town in America. That's our #1 industry. The #1 thing that we publish and print is the Bible. And religious, Lifeway International is here, Gideon's International is here, the Thompson Chain Bible Company is here. You've got the Methodist Publishing House that's here, and that's you know, as Senator Pody said, Nashville is considered the buckle of the Bible Belt because of our publishing and the literature that goes out here that's religious in nature. And should we not, should we discriminate against a book? And when I say a book, well, let's remember there's 66 books that's contained in that book. It's not one book, it's 66 books. And so it's a book that we consider to be the Word of God, and I think it's very sacred. But should we, because that it's religious in nature, discriminate against using it as our state books? It's been used in schools and in the beginning of our country. And our federal senators and congressmen and the state will lay our hand on that Bible. We used to lay our hand on that Bible when we go to court and swear to God to tell the truth on that Bible.
So do you have a next step? I mean, in other words, is if it becomes the state book, is your goal then to say, well, it should be in classrooms and it should be part of what is taught in school? I mean, where do you go from here, or do you stop here?
That's a great question.
Go ahead.
So there is movement nationally, you know, and I believe that the current president, President Trump, is actually opening it up a little bit more, where the previous administration was taking the Bible out and, in fact, taking away from some of the troops and such. Our current president is opening it back up so our troops can have it. We have passed laws to say that we want that to be available, that schools can have religious opportunities that they can send their kids. But it's not just to one religion, it's to any religion. So we're saying that we believe that we're not trying to put the Bible back into schools, but we're trying to say that, look, we don't want the government to keep somebody from worshiping wherever they are and whatever belief that they are.
If your goal is to get religion back in schools, but you're saying you're not biased toward one religion, then wouldn't it be sending the wrong message to make the Bible the state book? Because clearly then you are focused on one.
Sure. If I was here to say again that this is the religion and this is it, and I want to have this because of my religion and has nothing else to do with what we did in the history, that would be one thing. But that's not the facts. The facts are this Bible is printed more than any other book. And there's no other book that's even come close. This book is quoted by politicians, by everybody, more than any other book. This book, when the founding fathers came in and they said, okay, this is what we're going to swear oath and allegiance on, based on this book. And there was a lot of them with different religions, but they still said that this is the foundation, this is what we're going to start on. And we're not saying that somebody has to have this book as their religion, but we are going to acknowledge there's no other book. There's no other book in Tennessee that has done as much as this book has.
All right, well, that kind of sets the table for our discussion. We're going to take a break. If you want to join in, you may call. There's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. We have several callers. There are a few lines that are open, so give us a call. We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this.